evening, football fans. We're back, and I almost caught Dave Asprey on his phone there, young man. I saw that. Yes.
Young man.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, young man. Ellie, let's not start the stream off with that, with insulting Dave, right?
Yeah,
It is great to be here with a fantastic panel. We've got Ellie to my right here, or to my right, and Dave just below there. And we're going to be talking about what I believe, and what maybe others will believe as well, is the second rise of Nottingham Forest under Steve Cooper. And by that, I mean a second period of time when Steve Cooper has turned the club around, albeit a very different scenario this year. But last season we started fairly poorly, and it's fair to say that this season we've had a bit of a poorer run. It's been a few more games than last time, but things are starting to turn around. And I think that started when he signed his new contract. I know a lot of people are saying Brighton, but I think when he signed his new contract, I think the Aston Villa game was okay. You know, the Wolves game, I think we weren't great, and I don't think we deserved to win by any means, but we were robbed with that penalty. And then the rest was history. Since then, we've only lost one game against Arsenal. And guess what? We're not relegated yet. So it's all okay. But first of all, I just want to introduce my guests here. Ellie, great to have you. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very positive, actually. In a good mood. I think it's what we needed. A well-deserved win. And just very, very excited in general for everything to come after the World Cup. I'm just, I don't really want to wait, to be honest. I want to see some more Forest.
Smiles. Don't we like to see? We haven't really had this for a while. Dave, how are you feeling about this?
I'm still immensely satisfied, Jamie, about yesterday. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Perfection in the Premier League is a sort of a holy grail that takes a good deal of seeking out, But like Ellie, in her generation and me in my generation, the generations are meeting. And I think, a win is a win is a win is a win. And in the Premier League, that is the most precious commodity. And our lads, I tell you what, our lads have been this last week in particular, incredibly honest in their effort. And there's lots to address. We're not out of any woods by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there are some definite signs of little pieces of incremental, gradual progress,
Well, I mean, we're going into the World Cup, and this is another thing as well. It's not like we've just had a good run of form and we're going again Saturday. Obviously, we're not. It's the World Cup, and maybe me and Dor, who I know has commented, Tash alert. Just saying we haven't got a Tash anymore. It's never ever going to be seen again, and that's a promise to you all. It's not happening again. I need to shave these eyebrows.
Of all times to choose to get rid of your Tash, why'd you do it in Movember?
Because believe it or not, Ellie, mine is not worth growing. But I'll leave that one there. But all I'm saying is we're going into the World Cup. We've got 3 points, and for me, after that draw at Brentford, which was undeserved, I think we deserve more than that. 4 points was the minimum for me, and it was the only option we really had. But there's a game in Valencia, I know, in December, so that's going to be really interesting. And hopefully we're going to be going. But I'm still waiting to get it all sorted. So until then, we're not going to see Forest play. And for the Premier League, the next game is Manchester United on the 27th now, I think it is. So I'm not going to say let's do a preview of that. It's a bit far ahead. And I'm not even going to say looking ahead, what team do you want to start? Because I know what people are going to say. But let's talk about yesterday, because I think that it was a really positive performance. I think we probably could have scored a couple more, and I'm gutted that we didn't, because I think it could have been 2 or 3-0, or it should have been 2-1, 3-1. Let's be honest. Wilfred Zaha really messed it up for himself, didn't he? But before I ask you the first question about yesterday, honestly, it was awful. Let's get to the comments. So, Cal, good evening. Sebastian, Rad Dad, good to see you yesterday. And I even sat next to the legendary Rads, who has recently hit 4K. So subscribe to him on YouTube. Tim, I hope you're doing well. I don't want to have the memories of the last stream we did. Yeah, you know what I'm on about, Ellie. Dylan, good to see you. Eve, Glyn, I am looking forward to driving in this new car. This is my driving instructor, by the way. And unfortunately, his Ford Focus recently had a few issues. So we've got a brand new car. It's a VW. I'm looking forward to it. Kev, I hope you're doing well, my friend. And Harold, 39 of you in at the moment. Just subscribe, comment, and like if you can. It'll be brilliant to get more of you involved with the channel. And we will also soon, after a lot of thinking, be introducing memberships as well, doing some exclusive content, and just doing some more little bits with the channel here and there. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start, Ellie. I'm going to start with you first. Ellie.
Beauty before age, Jamie, every time.
Oh, it is. Okay, Dave. Right. So let's start now. Okay.
Oh, you flatterer, you dear boy.
Okay, I've got to try and persuade you to come on the stream somehow, haven't I? I mean, this is it. Ellie, yesterday, positive performance. I mean, Crystal Palace have got some real good players in their team. Eberici Eze, Elise, obviously Wilfred Zaha, without a doubt. But they didn't look so special yesterday. What did you make of the midfield? Because it was Freuler, Yates, and Kouyaté. Which earlier in the year, if you had told me that's going to be the midfield, I probably would have screwed my face. And I think a lot of people would. But how did you rate their performance and overall their kind of attitude towards the game from the start?
I mean, like you, at the beginning of the season, I'll admit I was not a fan. Other than Yates, I have to say, has been our most consistent player so far all season. He's not a magic man. He's no magician. But I think my dad put it really, really nicely is Ryan Yates allow other players to play. And that's what he's been doing all season. So I'm always happy to see Yates in the team. He should always be in the team. Kouyaté, I've been a bit harsh on. I will admit when I'm wrong. He started the season quite poorly for me. I think he was getting a lot of people were really excited. I was quite excited, and I think he did start a bit. He was a bit off the mark. I could see there was a player in there. I just wasn't seeing it. He was really good yesterday, I have to say. Same with Freuler. I think he terrifies other players. He's a big man. And I think you can just see the moment he starts running at them, that pressure he applies, they always pass it back. It always becomes a sideway or a backwards pass. And that's just what you need. And I have to say, they did a really, really good job. Yates, as always. Freuler, we're starting to finally see what we expected at the beginning of the season. It took some time, but we were expecting it to take time. You can't just expect these players to 22 new signings. You can't expect them to just gel like that. And unfortunately, in the Premier League, we don't have the time, but we're finally starting to see what we were expecting. And I am feeling very, very positive now because it's not just about the wins, the losses and draws. Obviously, we need some points. It's also the games that we have lost, the manner of which we've lost them, bar Arsenal, haven't been quite so terrible. We've seen some good performances out there. We've seen some hope, and even draws like Brentford, we're not going to go into it. We absolutely should have won, and I'm really excited. I think, like I said, this is a second Stevie Cooper rise, and as the big man said right there, I hope anyone's not stupid enough to write us off.
Wow, what a way to end a statement that was. I'll give you credit for that one. It's a 10 from me, that. But you're right as well, because and I know for a fact that when people were saying, I think it was probably, it must have been before the Aston Villa game. It was the Leicester game. And people were singing Stevie Cooper, and I was sitting in my seat thinking, this is it. This is the end of Steve Cooper. This is the end of not Steve Cooper, not the end of Steve Cooper, but the end of his time and his tenure at Forest. And I thought, well, we've had a good ride. And I was kind of looking through all the photos and the picture that I've got with him, and I'm going to try and get one after Christmas again. And just relishing the memories and enjoying it and thinking, this is it now. It's a new era, and I don't want that to be the case. And then all of a sudden, new contract and things are kind of put into perspective of how the club want to be seen in terms of the media as well, and also in the Premier League. They want to make a statement. We want to keep this manager, and we believe in the long term he's going to keep us in this division. And if he doesn't, I believe we'd keep him as well. And I don't think that if we were to go down, touch wood, we don't, that we'd go down with a fight. And to considering the result and the form that we've been on, there is so many games that I can now look at and say, actually, I think we can push for that 3 points, or a big team where I think we can go and challenge for a point, or who even knows, 3. You never know. You saw it with Liverpool, and with Brighton, you got that point, and this is the thing about football. I mean, 1 minute it's, the team's doing fantastic, and the next minute it's not doing so fantastic. And for Forest, it's just been a really, really hard start to the season, and kind of it's divided the fan base quite a lot over this last few months. But the people that have stuck by Steve Cooper and the people that haven't stuck by him, at the end of the day, we're all one fan base, and that's all that matters. And now more than ever, we need to unite and get together, ready for the new year and what the challenge that it brings. Because obviously we've got United coming up, and then Chelsea. We've got some really hard games coming up in the new year, but they're not impossible. And Dave, obviously, I'm going to ask you a question about January. And I know I said I wouldn't do the whole looking forward thing, but I want to talk to you about January. Now, I think there's going to be a couple of outgoings. Some of them might be shocks as well. I would, if I was to guess and have an imagination of what January might look like. Where do you think Forest need to really strengthen? How many signings will that take, and how much money will Forest have to spend to make this happen? Let's just say there's an unreal amount of money that you can spend. Be sensible, but what do Forest really need to do in January, and what can they do in January within reason?
One glaring, absolute necessity for focus, a priority of paramount importance, is a centre forward as a focal point who can put the ball in the back of the net. We are crying out for a centre forward. We want somebody. The only name I could come up with as somebody who would be ideal would be the sort of a young Glenn Murray, leading the line but scoring lots of goals. Somebody like, I wish we'd had Glenn. I wish we'd got Glenn now when he was sort of in his Brighton and his Palace days. Somebody like that who can be a focal point up front, who can put the ball in the back of the net as well as bringing others in. I think we've all kind of hoped that Taiwo would be that. But Taiwo in himself is a project. We need time with Taiwo. He's going to have some good days, Taiwo, and he's going to have some not so good days. And, he's a little bit like, there's a little bit of a parallel to Miguel Almiron, who at Newcastle has been a bit of a in and out player for a couple of seasons, and now, boom, Premier League Player of the Month, right? And thriving and playing brilliantly in a good side, So Taiwo is going to take time, but I think you're exactly right, Jamie. When you sign 22 or 23, and then you've got some others there, there'll come a point in January where a judgment is made by the club that not all of them will have been either successful or fit for purpose. So I think, I don't think many will go out, but I think some will go out. And what I envisage, what I personally would want, what Dave Asprey wants isn't maybe what Nottingham Forest wants. So that's there are different ways of looking at it. I would like maybe 2 or 3 in. I think obviously Scarpa is coming in from Palmeiras, and at the moment on the fragments of footage that we've got to go on, he looks a really exciting player. He's won the Copa Libertadores, the South American equivalent of the Champions League, twice with Palmeiras. And there was a piece of footage this week of his last game for Palmeiras, and the reception he got as he left the field showed that he'd obviously been a key, crucial factor there. So I think he's going to come in. Whether he goes off to Olympiacos or not, I don't know. That's internal politics, which I've got no idea about. Maybe one other, I don't know. But I just think the one glaring area we need to address is we need to get a goal scorer, a 15-goal, maybe 20-goal sort of guy to kind of. I think we're beginning to sort of create more chances now. I mean, I think especially Wednesday night and yesterday, Jesse's had some chances, and Jesse's kind of emerged a little bit this week. Morgan's making chances and creating chances. Brennan, I think, is beginning to kind of grow into it again. It's going to be a gradual process. But I just think, this false 9, I think it's okay every now and then, but I think it'd be really nice to have, a good centre forward who we can look for. And he's an out in a way, an outlet, but he's a guy who can act as a fulcrum to bring other players into the game. And I think that is the one area, the one position I think we need to address. And the thing is, Jamie, you talk about money. That might take a similar amount of money to that which was used to bring in Morgan, because obviously Morgan paid a lot of money. So I think that's the one area that Forest need to address, really.
And it's obviously a big gamble, but as I think
every
Forest
strategy is a gamble.
In the Premier League, and also the people that go, well, why can't we just get in a Premier League striker, are the same people that are saying, well, how can we justify spending this money on this person? So you've got to look at it. You've got to look at two sides of the coin, because there's the side of Okay, you're going to get a Premier League striker. Oh, fantastic, nice. You got to pay 30 million. Oh, what are you on about? Well, no, I'm not doing that. You know, you can't have the whole thing without having both factors to it.
You have to speculate to accumulate, I think.
Of course you do. But this is it. We've got to face the reality as fans that this is going to be costly and it's going to be massively, massively risky. But there's a couple of comments that are coming in about January, and one of them was, it'd be lovely to get Spence on loan. And I really like Jed Spence, but I'm going to ask this question, and I put it on Facebook not long ago to someone that said the same thing. So let's say we get him on loan for the sake of his development, which will be why Tottenham loan him out. They're not going to loan him out just for the fun of it. It's for his development to come back. What does Spence get out of it, for one? Who is he going to overtake, for two? Does he fit in a back four? For me, no. Does he beat Aurier? Spence couldn't tie Aurier's laces, for me. He couldn't. If you're going to talk about defensive abilities in the back four, you wouldn't even come close to Aurier. I mean, Aurier, yes, he's his senior, and he's a lot older than him. That being said, he's got way more experience, way more Premier League experience, and way more experience in this Forest Premier League team, which is a different team to what Spence played last year. And I think actually Aurier and Brennan Johnson they'll start to work together even more and more. And you've seen it from
already
Aurier.
are, Jamie Little.
And they already are. But you saw it yesterday. And also Aurier's crosses are fantastic. When Johnson isn't getting a cross, Aurier is. You know, and I kept getting flashbacks yesterday of that Sam Surridge header assist to Lingard, because Aurier did the same cross 2 or 3 times. So, you know, he's a really special player. But Ellie, I want to ask you, do we really need Jed Spence, or is it just a bit of a waste of an idea to bring him back?
I think that is a really interesting question. I'm trying to put all sentiment aside, because obviously I do love that man.
And it's hard. Yeah, of course it's hard to.
Putting that aside, I'm really like putting that aside. I think you do make a good argument about Aurier. I mean, again, start the season not great, but I don't think we can judge individual players based on that. No one had a good start to the season, barring Yates and Henderson a little bit, and then it went wrong. And I think Aurier's he's more of a physical player, a bit stronger and probably stronger defensively. But I think Jed Spence is a lot quicker. And it is the question really is, if you think about it, is do we disrupt this hope that Brennan Johnson and Aurier will get that relationship going and start creating more chances and then just put Spence back in? Or is there really some potential there? Because right now, in terms of how he's performed in the season so far, I would take Spence any day of the week. But it's not about the season so far. It's about what he can do and what he will hopefully be doing and what we're starting to see. And we're starting to see that link up with Brennan Johnson, like you say, and it is looking good. And I'm hoping it will look better. And would I take Spence still? Yeah. I just love the bloke. A, because I love him, but B, because he's got a lot of pace that we don't have so much in this current side, but we are lacking a little bit. And Jed Spence, we can't forget how absolutely ridiculous he was for us last season, because he was. He's younger, he's fast, he's just, I would have him, but it is, again, like you say, disrupting what was the point of signing Aurier if we were just going to bring in Spence. But an upgrade is an upgrade.
Well, there's also other players as well. Yeah, and I think
you just come in there, Jamie. On what Ellie says, I agree with all of it. Really, I think the problem for Jed Spence is that Serge has come in, last in through the door, a free transfer, the least publicity of any of the signings. And at the moment, Serge, who I think has been sent from Wakanda, he's built like a brick outhouse. He's got an amazing physique on him, and he's powerful. He's got an amazing spring for headers, right? Serge has, and he looks a real character, and he's not to be messed with. And Forest need that in a youngish team that's feeling its way in an incredibly difficult division. So I think, you know, if you'd asked that 4 or 5, if you'd asked up to the Leicester game, I'd have had Jed back in a heartbeat. Now, I still probably would have Jed back in a heartbeat, but I just think that Serge, you know, at Leicester that night, the only little crumb of comfort that you could take was that when Serge came on, Serge actually played all right, where everybody else was really quite poor, I thought, as you would imagine from a 4-0 defeat. And from then, Serge has gone on. So against Brentford last week, I had Morgan as the man of the match, but Serge wasn't that far behind him. And any bloke who can control the ball lying on the ground with that food. I mean, we all in the Trent end, and I don't want to make Ellie blush, but all of us in the Trent end thought he controlled it with his bum, which I thought was an amazing piece of skill, really. So Serge has kind of been a bit of a fly in Jed's ointment. Now with Jed, I find it really interesting that the only 2 games that Jed has played for Tottenham Hotspur this year have both been against Forest at the City Ground. Now, the first one, I thought it was a sort of a token gesture to appease the Forest fans. But on Wednesday night, Jed came on, and I thought in his cameo, Jed was actually by far the best Tottenham player on the field. He had a great run, which caused Orrell to bring him down, which then ended up sort of eventually leading to Orrell being sent off, sadly. And then he had a header which forced Wayne into a save. So, you know, Jed Spence came onto a standing ovation. He was the only Tottenham player who deserved an ovation that night, because Tottenham were, I thought, if I'd have been a Tottenham supporter travelling from London to the away section of the City Ground on Wednesday night, I would have felt betrayed and shortchanged. Tottenham Hotspur were an embarrassment. If I'd have been their manager, I'd have been reading several riot acts. You know, but you're tired. Tottenham Hotspur are claiming to be tired. Nurses are working 16-hour shifts and junior doctors 24-hour shifts. That's tired. Not a footballer doing what he loves, right? Without getting on my high horse. But Jed came off the bench. I thought it was a bit of they're just taking the mick out of Jed. But actually, Jed played all right. I think I would have him back, but Jed has got to understand that I don't think he's going to be an automatic choice. He might have been before this kind of unexpected Aurier, a surge, if you like, by surge. Sorry, I'm terrible words. You know, and so Jed's situation is down to the big fella making him. He's become really popular really quickly, Serge. Actually, we were all a bit like, "Oh, this guy isn't good enough," but you know, he's establishing himself at the moment. And again, to go back to your other point, Jamie, I think that what Brennan and Jed had last year was fabulous, and I think they fed off each other. But you just get a sense that, again, gradually, no trees being upturned, Brennan and Serge are beginning to kind of form something, and you almost kind of don't want to tamper with it. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? And I do agree with all these things, by the way, because I think performance-wise, I mean, if you were going to,
I love him as well, like Ellie does.
Of course, and I do as well. But I mean, I don't have posters of him, you know, just to say. But I don't. I know. I probably.
I think Ellie likes his slightly bad boy image.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have the feeling that if my stepdad walked in my room and I've just got that picture of Jed Spence on my wall, it'd be a bit questionable.
I think he's proper grinding.
What are you saying? What are you saying behind Jed Spence poster? And not just anyone. It's his classic, "Where are my manners?" When we got
Shout out to Rose Gallery, by the way.
Shout out Rose Gallery.
I think performance-wise, Jed Spence is brilliant, and I thought he was good against Forest. I won't speak for him this season because, well, I don't recall him making a Premier League appearance this season. I mean, he may have, but I've not seen it. So based on this season in the Premier League, I can't say whether he's Premier League standard or not. I always believe, though, and I said before everything, I think he'd step up and he'd do well. And if you would ask me what player or what position would make the most impact in us going up last season, most people would assume the midfield or the attack. But in reality, you know, a right wing back was one of the biggest parts of that. And you know, obviously it was a massive collective effort, but he was a huge part of it. And I think when it comes to Jed Spence, though, and everybody's saying things that I agree with the performance, the way he plays and the things that he can do. My concern is, though, what opportunity does he get to do that in a current Forest squad? I don't think there's a lot to it. And in terms of his development, I don't see why you'd loan him to a club where you've got that stable back four. If Aurier comes out of the squad, you've potentially got Nico Williams to fill in for him. On the left-back position, you're going to have Renan Loddy and Omar Richards soon. I just don't think there's a lot of opportunity. Exactly. I don't think for me there's a lot of opportunity for him.
I think formation, right? We played the three at the back with Jed and you know, we wanted it to be Max Lowe and then it was Jacko. That worked beautifully at that level. Unfortunately, we've gone up and you kind of stick with what you know until you kind of come to a realization that what you know and what you're familiar with doesn't work. And Forest have had to go through that evolution, if you like. And I think the formation at the start of the season, yeah, Jed would have been perfect for that. But now I just think Serge, being the way he is, suits the fact that we're having to go forward at the back and play a different way. I like the fact that Forest, they stuck with it for a while. And Steve got to the point where he kind of, hang on a minute, no, this isn't working. And he tried something different, you know. So I just think, yeah, I would have him back, but he's going to have to come back with the realization that he's not going to just walk straight in, which he might have done, say, earlier in the season, you know.
Well, I mean,
I would have done earlier in the season. Let's not lie.
Well, I mean, I think you all. The question has to be, you know, and the thing is, people have suggested to me, well, Jay, what about if you chucked him in at right wing? That's all well and good, but at the same time, I still don't think there's a lot of opportunity there. You've got Brennan, who is gradually improving and getting used to Premier League life, which isn't easy. He's 21, you know, and his whole life, everything has come at him at once, right? And let me put this into perspective for you. And he's not the only one. This is Ryan Yates as well, who's been through the 5 tiers of English football. Okay. Now, Brennan Johnson, season before last, he was at Lincoln. Smashed it. Came back to Forest. Let's give him a chance, see how he does. 20-odd goals, however many assists. Ridiculous stats. I mean, it's phenomenal, right? It will go down in history as one of the best seasons for any Forest player. Brilliant. Premier League, you've moved up 3 tiers of English football in 3 consecutive seasons. You've been selected to go to the World Cup. I mean, everything is happening at once. You've got Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year. You're in the EFL Championship Squad of the Year and things like that. And you're thinking, well, hold on a minute. The guy's 21. It's all coming at once. Pressure. And he won't be going on social media. I mean, who would? And going, the pressure is immense and I'm this, and this, and listing a number of reasons why he's under pressure. He is under pressure. He's going to struggle at times. And there's going to be times where he's not feeling so confident. But he's coming out of his shell. He is coming out of his shell. You know, he's getting more physical. He's getting involved with the game much more. We saw that last game. And he came close with a couple of shots. And it's only a matter of time before all those shots that he's having start going in. He breaks over that confidence barrier. And it starts again for him. This new variation of Brennan Johnson, the Premier League variation, the one that we are going to see after Christmas. And the World Cup is going to be a huge confidence boost for him, no matter how long Wales last. Group stages, final, whatever. I mean, I'll take a final, don't get me wrong. But, you know, as Dor would say, you know, Dor loves the Welsh. He loves it. And he was telling me he hopes they get to the final too. But I think that I wouldn't, for that reason, and I went off on a Brennan Johnson thing, but I couldn't bring Spence back to this club because in my view, and the thing I'll say the last on this, I don't think he'd get the opportunity. I think there's things that he could offer, but we've got players there already. And to push those players out of the squad would be, in my opinion, unfair. Because if you spent 17.5 million on Nico Williams, you can't just be pushing him out. And that's how it is. Equally, though, it's going to be tough for him. And but let's talk about January when injuries come back and what the squad's going to look like then. Now, let's start with Niakate, actually, because he's going to be back in... Well, he's going to be back in January, I would imagine, or potentially Man United. I'm confident that's the case based on what I know. So let's keep. Yeah, I thought you were doing a middle finger then, Dave. Let's keep fingers crossed.
No. I don't do profanity, mate.
Okay. Well, yeah, not on stream anyway.
Not on stream, no.
Not on stream. But
my mum trod on me toe at the restaurant at dinner time, and I did profane then.
Okay. Yeah, I bet you didn't. You get a clip round the ear. You get a clip round the. This is it. But
she's too small.
Well, we're not going to go on a Dave Asprey insulting his mum thing now. Dave, careful now. Careful.
Be nice to your mother.
Well, Niakate should be back in January, right? Or December, whenever he's back, whenever. What does that back four look like to you then? In fact, let's chuck Omar Richards in the mix as well, because you're going to have 3 left backs. Harry Toffolo, providing he's fit. Omar Richards, Renan Loddy in that left back position. In the right back position, you're going to have Nico Williams and Serge Aurier. And then centre backs, McKenna, Bolly, Worrell, the dreaded name, Bade, Niakate, I probably missed someone.
Envy
Bianconi. Oh, and Beso. You're not going to have Bianconi. He's not going to be back. So you've got Beso. So you've got 6 or 7 there, right? Who? I want to ask you, Ellie, first. Actually, what would be your back four looking ahead then? Like with all these injuries here, and how much disruption do you think that these people that are currently injured coming back are going to have? Because I mean, it must be an absolute headache for Steve Cooper.
Oh my God. I can't lie to you. This has been baffling me a little bit. I am absolutely baffled by what we're going to do, because it's not even just the injuries, just in general who we choose as our back four. Because we had, who was it? It was Worrell, and who did we have yesterday?
Bolly. It was Bolly.
Bolly, that's it. My brain just passed away for a second there. But and we won. And as stupid as that sounds, is that the back four I would have chosen? I would have had Loddy, yes, or yes, but would I have had Worrell and Bolly in? I probably wouldn't have. But then we won. So I am a bit baffled in general, anyways. And then you put these injuries in the mix. I think for me, it's a bit simple, a very, very simplified way of looking at it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We found a team that have won a game. We've won, was it 3 games all season? Is that right? 3?
3 dogs.
And we won 1. And that was with perhaps not who we all would have chosen initially. I'm not sure if it's a bit weird, is it? Because would I say that Bolly and Worrell are our best options? No. But then we did win, and our better options haven't been able to do that. And could that be because of Crystal Palace and because of Spurs? Maybe, but it just seems a bit too much like, hang on a minute, we are suddenly winning. So maybe we should just, and I just don't think you can push someone out of the team when we're finally winning when we haven't.
But this is
the point. Yeah, Worrell did give a pen away, so we did get away with it.
It's Gordon again. Look, Gordon, I'm going to put it to you like this, right? Steve Cooper, because people always come and say this, they always go, this is the best formation. This is the best formation. This is the best centre-back partnership. How would you know? Because if you had told me a week and a half ago, Bolly and Worrell are going to be playing centre-back in 2 weeks in the game where we need to be winning, I'd have been saying, hold on a minute. I mean, I wouldn't be insulting anybody because they're 2 very capable players, and I've always believed that. And I do think that actually, I think it was the Fulham game where Bolly made his cameo, his first appearance. There was positives to it. There was some positives, but it was mostly not positive. There was some positives to Bolly's performance going forward, a few good passes, but other than that, it wasn't great. But he's improved massively, and also this proves to me why it's not just about, okay, well, how has he done in the past and how has he done in the past? It's a case of, well, what does Steve Cooper see for 6 days a week, and what do we not see? The reason he's picked Bolly and Worrell is not just because of the cup game. It's because of how they work together, the chemistry that they have, how they communicate, and how they work together in the way that they did. And for 2 right-footed players, for Bolly to go and play on the left centre-back, and I would have actually put McKenna where Bolly was and switched Bolly to where Worrell was, but they did fantastic. And, you know, Worrell did make a mistake with the penalty, and that was unfortunate. But
Jamie,
I can't fault him for anything else. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Ellie, actually, she's always eloquent. And basically, what I loved what she said. That's not really eloquent, is it? When she said it, she's baffled, and she's right. It's not cut and dried. Now, where my world has been rocked, if you like, is Ellie's got lots of pictures on our wall. In a part of my abode here, I have a shrine to Scott McKenna, right? Because Scott McKenna, because he's publicity averse, doesn't take anybody's limelight, solid, quiet, made of granite, gets somebody's job. He's my favourite player. There's so many who could be my favourite player for different reasons, but I love Scotty, right? But where my world has been rocked is yesterday, I think, was the first time that Scott McKenna was left out of the side when he's not been injured. And what is kind of thrown it? So, if you like, the other great point Ellie makes is that if it ain't broke, it don't need fixing. And against Tottenham Hotspur on Wednesday night and yesterday against Crystal Palace, they had to deal with, on Wednesday night, they had to deal with a man who is seen as England's greatest hope of winning the World Cup. right? He didn't have a sniff, and he went for a lie down after an hour, right? I think he was sat on the coach before the end of the game, Harry. I love Harry. He's a great player, but he did nothing. And that was baby down. I mean, Willy Bolly hit Harry Kane after about 10 minutes in that match, clean, fair, right on the edge of our box. And Harry wasn't really spotted after that. In fact, then Harry's been forced to come deep. Harry's having to kind of come deep and hit the play, right? And then yesterday, Wilf. We all know what Wilf is Palace. Palace is Wilf. And our lads dealt with it really, really well. And I think at the moment, it's like Ellie, right? It's messing with my head because if you'd asked me a fortnight ago about Renan Loddy and Willy Bolly, I would have been, sorry, don't think they're good enough. Renan Loddy has been a revelation inside a week. The best thing that has happened to Renan Loddy is not to be selected for Brazil's World Cup squad. It's almost like, oh, right, I can just play for Forest now. And I think Renan Loddy has finally shown us the kind of thing that made him such a steal from, well, I think he's on loan, from Atletico Madrid. If you can get Atletico Madrid, and I think the last couple of games he's begun to show why he's an Atletico Madrid player. Now, Willy Bolly, I wasn't that impressed against Fulham early in the season. But Willy, or Big Willy as I like to call him.
I knew you were going to say it.
I'm only saying it because I know Dor loves my childish sense of humour, right? So Big Willy had a good game Wednesday night. Dor's, he'll be looking in, he'll be laughing his head up because he loves me doing innuendos. So I'm going to say to Ben, Big Willy has stiffened our resolve at the back these last two games, right? Joe Worrell played. I wouldn't change it actually. Am I putting Scott McKenna back in? Not yet. What you have to remember, the context of the last. You take the last 6 games, right? If we're talking about a little upturn, I don't think if it's not a meteoric upturn. It's not a meteoric rise. It's a sort of a gradual going from sort of there to level to just going like that. We've got a long way to go, right? But we've played the last 6 games, right? Okay, take the Arsenal game out where we were outclassed by the league leaders who are clear, playing brilliantly, happy bunch, the revelation of the season, Arsenal are really. Take that out, then we haven't lost the other 5, and 4 of them, take out the Brentford, 4 of them are clean sheets. So the greatest of them all said, the guy just above Ellie's head there on the camera, he said, all good sides are built on clean sheets, right? Because he reckoned that when Forest won the league in 77, 78, he said, we signed Shilton and we took off. And the guy interviewing him said, he won you the league, did you? And Brian went, him and the back 4. And if you get your defence right, at least you might be getting put under pressure, under siege, whatever. But if you're keeping them out, at least you stay on a level playing field. Do you know what I mean? I think that it's healthy now. I mean, Bolly and Loddy are kind of outliers. They've come from nowhere really, without any. They were to me, they were kind of our 2 sort of bigger disappointments. And the perversity of life is such that like the lads are playing well. And this is what people have to understand. We're dealing with human beings, imperfect creatures. They have good days, they have bad days. If you think that Nottingham Forest have a divine right to be brilliant and win 5-0 every week, and that these guys are machines that just sort of churn it out at the click of a finger, then you're not understanding humanity. If you don't understand humanity, go and be in Terminator or something. I don't know. So the way I look at it, I mean, people will say, "Oh, you're too soft-hearted, Dave." What I see out there are a gang of lads doing something incredibly difficult, and they're not going to be spot on. But I just think at the moment, to back up my learned friend above, it ain't broke, don't fix it. So to me, at Blackburn coming back, I don't know what Steve will do. He may play his strongest side to get them ready then to go to Old Trafford. But at Old Trafford, at the moment, these lads have just won 2 games against good sides. They've earned their right. I think the 11 that started yesterday, have earned their right to start at Old Trafford.
Well, I mean, Old Trafford's going to be interesting because Man United, and I know that everybody's talking about Garnacho, and when I saw him play in May, I thought he was a real prospect, and he's brilliant anyway. And they obviously value him very highly, and they're going to sign his new contract soon. But he got that late winner, but it still had to go to 3 minutes of added time. So anything is possible with this, and we shouldn't, as fans as well, we shouldn't also just go, okay, we'll forget that game, look on to the next game. You've got to live for every game and enjoy that, and also believe that we can challenge for it, because we can. And in regard to what we can do as fans as well, you know, and everybody's different in the way that they think. The speculation part of it is interesting, because I know that, and someone mentioned Bade. Look, he's a young guy. You know, he's got a lot of potential, and potentially he could start and play for Forest after Christmas. I think there's an opportunity for that, and I think we'll see him in Valencia. I don't think it's as simple as Steve Cooper going, "You're not coming with us this week to play this game. You're not in this squad." You don't know what's going on in his life. You don't know if he's got stuff going on there. You don't know if
Everybody's
he's
an
really
active
match
resource,
fit.
Jamie.
Yeah, and of course people make the assumption that, okay, Steve Cooper's just not choosing him. If it was the case, I think we'd know by now. I think there would have been a leak by now, and I think we would have pretty much known. In fact, I don't even think it would have gone that far. I don't think he would have signed, and I don't think he'd be at the club now. I think they would have terminated the loan for his own good, because he's a young guy. That being said, things have got to change, obviously, for him to play for Forest. And at the moment, why would you change that centre-back partnership? Why would you risk it? We don't have time to waste and risk. We can't do that. And I'm not saying that Bade wouldn't potentially come in and improve it, because, of course, he could. You know, we've seen with Bolly. I think he's a player that I actually wasn't that keen on signing. When we signed him, I thought, is it really necessary? But every game, he goes out there and does what he needs to do. He doesn't go and do anything spectacular, but he puts in the tackle when you need him to. He's calm on the ball, even in situations where he's under a lot of pressure. He doesn't lose the ball, and he just does the passes that are necessary, whether it be to the fullbacks or to his centre-back partnership or into the midfield. He does all of that, and he just does the job he needs to do. And that's what I really like about Willy Bolly. So, for me,
Jamie,
yeah.
Spot on. Yesterday, there were a few times sat in the Trent end, and I guess people at the Bridgeford end on it, where the big fella had the ball, and you kind of thought, oh, he's dithering a bit. Oh, you know, Wilf or Elise or Ez are going to come and take it off him. And Willie then would just find a nice little calm pass. And I thought he started. I tell you what, actually, I'm kind of stumbling on a point in my own head in the tumble dryer of thoughts I have that, you know, our distribution out from the back yesterday with Joe and Big Willie was actually better than it's been for quite a while, really. Will you stop laughing at that?
Dave.
The serious point I'm making, in amongst all the innuendo, is that we were better coming out from the back yesterday, and we certainly were against Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham, I think, was a less of a pressure game, but yesterday, I think we started from the back better. Would you agree with that?
100%. And I don't think there's a need to really change it much. And if you are going to change it, perhaps you could chuck Scott in there. You know, Man United's it's going to give us challenges, and Garnacho with his pace, as we've just seen, it's going to be a huge challenge. You know, Rashford's going to be coming off the World Cup, and he's going to be boosted and charged up and ready. But Ellie, I want to ask you, who actually this season so far, who has been the best player this season so far? I have an idea of who you might say already. And it's not Jed Spence. It's not Jed Spence. Who is it for you?
That's my guess,
History is easy. I can't lie. No questions asked. Absolutely 100% Ryan Yates. So easy, because I will sing this. I will talk about this forever. Thanks, Dor. Actually, hit the like button. But he has been fantastic. He's not, like I say, he's not going to do any like spicy passes and like do these crazy footwork. But what he does do is he will pick up that second ball. He will make the clearances. And if you think about it, if you look at it yesterday, I did sit back and think to myself, I wonder what the stats are for how many clearances Ryan Yates made off of corners and set pieces. It was almost always his head. It was almost always Ryan Yates. And even when we have been, and let's not lie, pretty awful at the beginning of the season, our players have not played to their full potential, and they know that, and now they're starting to. He has been that player that has come in and done what I've expected him to do. He has been that player that has been consistent the vast majority of the time, and he has proven that he can step up to the Premier League. And he has been getting a lot of stick. Him, Brennan Johnson, and Worrell have got a lot of unfair stick, and even not so much McKenna, but even Steve Cook, which again, you're wrong. these players have been getting a lot more stick, and I think it's largely because people can just name them from last season. So like, let me just hate on them, and also because they like to see the the crazy footwork, the magic passes, but that at the end of the day isn't what wins you the game. You need players like Ryan Yates to get on that ball all the time and pass it into the players so that they can play. And I think Ryan Yates, shout out to Steve Cook as well. I think he's been pretty good the vast majority of the time, which again makes it a bit difficult when with this back four. That will puzzle me. Good luck, Cooper, with that one. And yeah, it's 100% Ryan Yates. I can't even say that there is anyone close. It's Ryan Yates for me, and Ryan Yates all the way. Keep doing what you're doing, Yatesy. Don't know if you'll watch this, but
I mean, you never know, because he's now best friends with Dor now, so maybe Dor's brought him to the channel. I don't know, but yeah, if you didn't know this already, he is, and Ryan Yates is an absolute legend. And I just want to say, before I ask Dave who his favourite players, big shout out to Stanov's away days and also Joe Pratt. And it's good to see you both back. It's been a little while. And it's good to have the OGs. And I say the OGs, it's only like June that we were starting this up and properly getting it rolling. But I mean, that was months ago, wasn't it? Crazy to think. But it's good to see everybody back and in good health as well. Wishing you all the best. But Dave, your best player, is it Ryan Yates? Because I think, as I've said many times, Ryan Yates is probably one of the least technical players in the team. But he gives his all every week. And at the end of the day, doesn't matter how technical you are at the end of the week. If you haven't got a work ethic like Ryan Yates, you're not going to get to the top. And for that guy to go from like Shrewsbury and Notts County, all of the smaller clubs, and then to go and do what he's done at Forest, his attitude has got him to the very, very top. So I think Ellie's spot on there. But Dave, who's been your favourite player this season? The pressure's all on you now, Dave.
All of them. I love them all. They're my children. I haven't got kids. Every one of them, I'm very protective of every one of them, even if they have bad games. There are some that make me smile because I see a gang mentality. So when I see Jesse and Morgan dancing in front of the Trent end, and then Morgan puts the ball through for Jesse, it doesn't quite work out. Morgan's laughing his head off. Morgan looks like he's having fun. Jesse looks like he's now beginning to kind of bring that spirit off the field onto it. There's so much to like about all of them. But you know what? The lady in half persuasive, and she's bang on, because Ryan Yates is the kid who isn't the most talented. He isn't the most gifted. But what Ryan Yates is, he's the most self-aware. He knows he's not going to be the slick FIFA European guy who does all the, I think our minds are turned by FIFA and our minds are turned by Soccer AM showboating and all this kind of stuff. It's like you get these guys who do street tricks with a football, right? They're flicking stuff, catching on the back of the head. Get him to go to quote the cliche, ask him to go and do it at Stoke on a Monday night when it's freezing cold, right? Yatesy, you know what I love about Ryan? Ryan lives, he's 1,000% of his, I've got to get as much out of myself as I can in every game. He's pointing, he's talking, he wants to be everybody's best mate, right? If you're on his side, then you're lucky. If you're not on his side, like the lovely man who sits next to me in the Trent end, Mark Saunders, a fantastic guy, knows his football. Mark's about the same age as me. And he turned to me yesterday, Mark did, and he said, you know what? That lad must be an absolute bloody nightmare to play against, Yatesy, because he seems like he's like bloody Dr. Octopus. He's everywhere. And like, Will Hughes fell on top of him yesterday, and I think there was a bit of a Derby reject going on. And you know what Ryan is? Ryan is one of us three. We're supporters. We love the club. Ryan Yates is one of us out on the pitch, right? When I see Ryan Ryan could almost be sitting next to me, get up out of his seat and go onto the pitch, and he gives you 1,000,000%. He would take a broken leg, a fractured skull, a broken arm, any bone in his body he would break for this club. Now, when I pay my money to go in the ground, the least I expect is complete commitment to the red shirt, the badge, the stadium, the supporters, and the great history of our club, right? And Ryan Yates gets that and gives it back to us. He's not going to be the guy that's, if you're sitting twiddling your thumbs in a living room and you think that's football, then sorry, retreat to your utopia. I'm in the real world, and I want, I tell you what, like at Brighton, right, where I believe this little bit of a upturn in fortunes began. That last 25 minutes of Brighton was deeply unspectacular. It was, in fact, it was ugly. But we've been outplayed, and we got a point. And Ryan Yates had a broken nose. I think the guy came on and said, "Let me sort that cut out." And and Yates went, "No." It's almost like Yatesy in a Terry Butcher style or a Paul Ince style. He wanted the blood to run down his face, and he wanted us to see it all right. And he sort of, he didn't open Brighton up. He didn't play that slick pass. He didn't do a flick or anything. He was just, I'm Nottingham Forest, and I'm here, and I want to do my best to make it difficult for you. And he's done that in all the games. There is going to be some opponents where that doesn't work. Manchester City were too good. Leicester with Maddison were too good. Arsenal, they're top of the league. They were too good. But, in the sort of the context that we're in, that kid, you can't help but love it. And I tell you what, these people who were abusing him and all that, I mean, they're absolutely entitled to their opinion. You can, if that's what you think of Ryan, you can think that. It's a free country. It's a democracy. You're entitled to think that. But I'd suggest that if they were to meet him, they're the sort of people, you know what, he's all right, him. He's a good kid. I just think he's one of us. I tell you what, I'm just so proud of him all the time. Even actually when he has a bad game. And you know what? Slagging him off and abusing him. Is that what life's about? Nah, people have a bad game. So what? I have a bad day. Ellie will have a bad day. You'll have a bad day, Jamie. The last thing we all know when we're having a bad day. I don't want nobody to pile in on me and flatten me. It's no wonder we've got a crisis of mental well-being when that kind of stuff's going on. So have your view. If you don't like him or whatever, right, it's about in the round. But yeah, it's hard. I love them all, honestly, because I support my club and I'm right behind every one of our guys, right? But Ryan, like Ellie says, and actually as I was listening to Ellie, I was kind of thinking, well, it's impossible to come up with another name, really. You know what I mean?
It really is.
Well, do you know what? And the thing is with Ryan Yates as well is it's the off the pitch stuff that really gets me as well. Because as a footballer, I don't really think there's anything. I mean, obviously he has to do content bits for the club and he has to go out in the community and that kind of stuff. But there's nothing in his contract that says you must go out there. And maybe it's an expectation of Steve Cooper, and I can imagine it is based on the kind of guy that he is. That, okay, well, you got to go out. There's nothing in his contract that says you've got to go and see that kid and take a picture with him outside the stadium. You've got to go and like that person's tweet. You've got to go and retweet that person's tweet or reply to their Instagram post or their message or, you don't even have to say hello back to them in the street. You don't have to wave at them.
Jamie, Ryan Yates, and I think this is fair for all of our lads. And this is why they've got their reward this last week, because I think they've been really honest as a group of people, as individuals, as a group of people. But Ryan Yates doesn't take for granted anything he does.
No.
Ryan Yates is the sort of lad. Ryan Yates will be sitting there thinking, my career could be over in a second with an injury, or I might not be good enough or whatever. I'm going to get as much out of it as I can right now. And yeah, like there'll be days when he'll drive us bonkers. You think, oh, Yates, you keep the ball better. Yates, you do this. Yates, you do that. But this in here, which is what a lot of it's about, ain't no problem with Ryan Yates' heart, mate, let me tell you.
But, do you know, for a footballer as well, trying to kind of liken with people that are, just your average person is hard because, these guys are paid a lot of money and, that does change people's perception of someone immensely, right? And I'm, there's people that have gone, well, Ryan Yates, he's paid this much money. Why isn't he doing this? But he does so much on and off the pitch. And, for him to even acknowledge someone. And when I saw him a couple of weeks ago, just after I come and seen you, and I walked in and I saw him and McKenna in the cars together. And I thought, those two with the windows down, having a chat. I'm thinking, get out your cars because I'm waiting here for you. I wait there 10 minutes. And Yates, he sees me and he gets out his car with Scott McKenna. And I'm like, I say to the both of them, can I get a picture with you? Yeah, of course, whatever. Scott McKenna's like 6'5" or whatever, and I'm just a little bit smaller than Yatesy, a bit gutted, to be honest with that one. But I don't mind it because it's Yatesy.
Jamie, I'm the same when I see Ellie and I want a photo with Ellie. I get all like in awe of her, you know what I mean?
Dave, no, this is a different extreme now because I'm only talking Ryan Yates was this much taller than me, whereas when it comes to Ellie, it's about that much. You know what I mean? So
no, you know what? The first thing people say when they meet me is, "God, I thought you were taller than that." I'm like, right.
Yeah, I thought you were taller than 4'6", but maybe not.
Let me tell you, I know from my own experience, Ellie, Small is perfect, though.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. This is a football
You only
channel.
just got
people.
that now. Sorry, Doug.
This is a football. My innocent mind's being ruined.
Sorry.
Dave.
My mind wanders at my age.
Yeah. Old age, Dave. No, I'm joking.
Indeed.
But Ryan Yates for me. And
Jay.
when I got this, stop. Hey, what I'm just saying. I'm changing the subject. I said to them both. I pointed them both in the face and I went, "You're my favourite player, and you're my favourite player. When I play as a defender, I want to be you, McKenna. When I play as a midfielder, I want to be you, Ryan Yates, because I don't want to leave people alone. You know, and this is the thing with Ryan Yates as well. He doesn't leave you alone. If you're trying to run past him, he's not stopping it. And sometimes he gets a bit over the top and he enjoys it a bit too much. And he's like, right, I'm going to pull your shirt. I want to wear it now. But, you know, there's a lot of the time where he'll win it back for you. And then it's just that, okay, I've got an abundance of space now. I can pass it to Morgan Gibbs-White and he can just do his flicking thing, do what he wants in the midfield. But Ellie, I want to talk about Morgan Gibbs-White, Jesse Lingard and Brennan Johnson. That three players that were doubted so heavily. And you know, Brennan Johnson, he's coming into it more now, and I think that the rise of Jesse Lingard in the last 2 games will bring a lot out of him as well. And I think Jesse's kind of the last person to really catch on to finding form, and I do believe he should have caught form a little bit earlier. I'm not going to lie to you in saying I expected more, and my expectations were, and I think given the money that he's on and what he did at West Ham should have been higher. That being said, we can't change that. As Dave, you said to me outside the stadium, you can't change this now. This is it. Yeah. So tell me more. What do you think about that front three? I mean, do you think that Morgan Gibbs-White, do you think that his kind of the flourishing that he's doing under Forest, especially under how much pressure he's under, given his, you know, his value that he was bought for, that he didn't choose, by the way, you know, do you think that him doing well is kind of leading to Lingard and Johnson having a bit more confidence? Because obviously they're quite good friends by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I've been saying it a lot, and everyone must think I don't know football, because instead of talking about all these footballing, you know, words and techniques and all this, I think a lot of it is as simple as pressure. We have 3 very good players, 3 players who got an unwarranted amount of media attention and slander before the season even started. Morgan Gibbs-White, for how much we paid for him, and like you say, he didn't choose that, and it was clear as well he desperately did want to move, because I don't know if anyone else saw it, his girlfriend liked a tweet that was saying like free up Morgan Gibbs-White, so he wanted to go. And then Jesse Lingard, for these £200,000 wages a week, which he's not on, and getting G-Lings, but getting all this hate that, again, he didn't ask for. He wasn't even paid that much, and he was a free agent. So that was such a good bit of business, but let's not go into that. And then Brennan Johnson, because as you say, his ridiculous season last season, is this the next big star? The media have piled in on Nottingham Forest from the very beginning, from before the beginning, and that's going to take its toll. And it did. Clearly, because there's 3 very good players there, very, very good players who are finally coming into their own. And I think, like you say, it took Jesse Lingard did come last in that, but Morgan Gibbs-White, from the beginning of the season, I was always saying he's so close to being good for us in terms of
absolutely.
He would make this fantastic run, take on these players, and then very nearly make this fantastic pass. And that would happen loads of times. And I've been saying, if he were to convert even 50% of those nearlies into successes, we're scoring a lot more goals. And I've been saying, he's not been good at the beginning of the season, but I said from the beginning, keep him on, because there is a player in there, and he is so close to getting these passes right.
But and no, I agree as well, and I think that actually
every word there, Doug, was spot on, perfect.
We got a lot to see of Lingard still. Obviously, you know, it is 2 games, so I'm still not going to kind of jump into the fact that, you know, it hasn't happened yet fully. But obviously, a free signing, of course. But one thing is, you know, obviously, if he does do well and Forest stay up, there's a potential that we could go in and you know, ask him How do you feel about starting and staying for another year? And I actually think the chances of that happening are very high. He obviously gets on well with Morgan Gibbs-White, and he likes the city, you know, and he's comfortable. His family have settled in, which is, from what a lot of people are saying, a huge factor in his successes. So, you know, it's great. It's just great to see him confident and also comfortable as well, because at times, I mean, you know, I know that a lot of people go and, oh, but he's the social media person and all this, but I actually think that there wasn't an incredible amount of social media stuff to it. You know, I thought that he was, you know, obviously he's got a bit of a personality off the pitch, but what's wrong with that? You know, but I'm just glad that he's found his form.
Nothing.
It's exactly, but it's good that he's found his form now, not just to shut those people up, but also to prove that this is the Jesse Lingard that we all know we could see. And also, I don't want to see the people that are saying, oh, he's back to his West Ham days now, because I don't think he is. I think this is the new kind of Jesse Lingard. Now, you've seen your Man United Jesse Lingard, just as I said about Brennan earlier, with his, you know, the Premier League variation, if you like. Now you've got Jesse Lingard, and this is his Forest. This is his era at Forest. And maybe these two games are a bit of a one-off and it won't go so well again. But I don't believe in the way that he played that he can't keep improving now. And he's 29. He's getting on a bit, but he's got a bundle of experience. And he is. He's 29 for a footballer.
Nice.
Yeah.
But maybe this is me being extreme here, because when I'm on Football Manager, if you're over 27, I'm selling you, right? I'm keeping the age demographic down to 24, right? So I'm sorry, Dave, but even the coaching staff, you wouldn't even be in there. You wouldn't even be in there.
He's putting
Dave,
you in a retirement home. That's where he's putting you.
Whoa, I didn't say that, Ellie. You took that to a... There was no need for that, Ellie. Look at how sad you've made him. Look at how sad.
How are you putting that on me? Come on. I'm a nice one.
Honestly, like we said before we started, us lot. You got 19 up here, 17 up here, 58 down here. I'm older than the pair of you put together, and some. You know what I mean?
Well, let's all tell you what, everybody.
Damn the kids, mate. You know what I mean?
Oh, Dave, no, stop this. Jesus. Right, everybody get a thumbs down in the chat for Dave. I don't approve of this.
Let's go down the hacienda, man.
Well, Dave, actually, I want to ask you a question to take your mind away from being down with the kids. Surridge, he had a great game against Tottenham, got himself an assist, and did a lot of good work, and obviously came on a little bit later on in the last game. But let me ask you, does he deserve a regular spot? Are you going to change that front three of Jesse Lingard, Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson for the next game? And does he deserve to start over Awoniyi? And where does that leave Awoniyi in January? Is he going to stay at the club, or is he going to get a loan back to Germany? Because I don't think he'd get into that Union Berlin team at the moment, considering how well they're doing.
I think it's a really good question, because it's a really tough one. Tough ones are always the best ones. Now, with Sam, if it's between Sam and Taiwo, then I'm going with Sam. I just think Sam. I think, you know, Taiwo is still learning. He's raw. That's the word everybody uses about him. You know, you see glimpses of where Taiwo is like a real handful, but then there's other times when Taiwo isn't kind of being that focal point we want. But Sam, you know, I'm a big fan of Sam Surridge. You know, I'm a big fan of all of them, but I really like Sam Surridge. I think he's our most at the moment within the squad. I think Sam is our most natural finisher. Does he start? I don't know, but I definitely think he should play a part in either every game or most games. I think if you think about it, he created Jesse's goal against Tottenham with a fantastic head back. He had a hand in Morgan's goal that, it wasn't Morgan's goal, it was Jorgensen's. It was Morgan to Jorgensen's goal against Brentford, the equaliser. You know, Sam had a hand in that. You know, Lewis has put the ball into the far post. Sam's gone up and headed it back. And I think Sam just has an innate, organic knack of making things happen. He makes great runs. He's mobile. He's unselfish in his running, and he's a natural finisher. Yeah, I think with Sam, I mean, I always feel like that in the Premier League. You know, he's like all of our lads. They're all, you know, we've had lots of our lads have gone up several different strata of the league. So, you know, Brennan went Lincoln, Forest into the Premier League. Harry Toffolo, Lincoln in League Two, Huddersfield, Premier League. Sam Surridge has been playing, you know, Swansea, Bournemouth, Stoke in lower divisions and having to go. It's a learning curve for them. But I just think Sam's got an ability that a lot of the others haven't got to put the ball in the back of it. I watched a training video a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember. I think it might have been pre-Liverpool, I think. And they were showing the lads doing their routines and whatever. And every time the ball was in front of a goal on the training ground, it was Sam Surridge putting it away. Now, that is an ability to be in the right place at the right time and an ability with a bit of dead eye to put it in the back of there. I just feel with Sam, if he gets one, he could get several. I mean, I thought he was terrific in the Championship. He came in at the right time. You know, he scored some beautiful goals. You know, he's got a knack for it. And I just think if it's taking the question in two parts, Jamie, because you gave them me in two parts, I think I'm going to go Sam over Taiwo at the moment. Now, that could change because life never stays the same. It's always constant. It's a moving feast, as we know. But does Sam start every game? Now, he's kind of like that focal point. I'm saying that I absolutely think we need a centre forward, a goal scoring centre forward in January. I think it's our priority. Sam is kind of like not quite that, but he's not quite this false nine that we've got with Jesse, Morgan, and Brennan. He's kind of somewhere in between. I actually think Sam might not be a bad guy, sort of playing off a bigger centre forward, you know, feeding, you know, sniffing around the box and all this kind of stuff. So, at the moment, until we get that sort of, if you like, totemic centre forward, that I think we really need. Absolutely think we need it. We need a number 9 who's A, going to kind of slightly intimidate the opposition and B, help our lads. Until we get that, then the three up front kind of is working. When I see Brennan, Morgan and Jesse, I kind of see 3 young lads who are all mates kicking a ball about down the park and having a laugh, right? And that is just that you can't buy that. That's like natural and I just think that's kind of coming. Like I say yesterday, it's almost like Morgan seemed to begin. They're beginning to. The thing about them is they're beginning to know what the others are doing. So I think, you know, I think Brennan's definitely better out wide. And actually, early on against Brentford, tactically with that 3 up front, I think the idea was we all saw Brennan as being the one up the centre. I don't think that's Brennan's forte. Against Brentford early on, when for the 40 minutes until that ridiculous penalty kerfuffle, Brennan was going wide, leaving gaps that Morgan then went in to fill. And I thought Morgan was our standout player against Brentford. Against Brentford, sorry. So I think that worked quite well. At the moment, again, it goes back to what Ellie says. If you've got something that, you know, it's worked this week, you know, at the moment, you're kind of going to, I mean, what we did at the start of the season, we stuck with what we knew from the Championship. That worked. Let's stick with that. Then you kind of get to a point where you think, hang on, no, it isn't necessarily working. So you try something else. I think while we're a long way away from where we want to be, I mean, we're still in the bottom 3. It's better than it was, but we're still a relegation candidate, whether we like it or not. Irrespective of the fact that it's only 6 points from us in 18th to say, I don't know, Fulham or 7 points to Fulham in 9th, you know. So it's very tight, but I just think that Manchester United, I almost like to say, play the same. Well, we can't play the same 11 at Manchester United because Dean can't play against Manchester United. So the same 11, same 10 with Heno in goal, you know. And like let's talk about Wayne Hennessy. He played really, really well on Wednesday night. If you look at it in one way, if we look at it in the other way, Tottenham Hotspur were about as threatening as this mug of tea to Forest. So Wayne didn't have anything to do, really. You know what I mean? So, the same 10 plus Wayne at Manchester. Whether Dean goes to Manchester United after all the things he said about them, I don't know. He may need a police escort in and out the ground, no, I'm keeping things that. Lady's right. It ain't broke. Don't need fixing.
Or maybe he'll get a taxi out of the ground, just like Freuler did on Saturday. I don't know if any of you saw that, but he actually got a taxi out of the ground.
Can we just mention Freuler, actually, Jamie? Because Remo Freuler, I thought yesterday, he had his best game for Forest. What Remo Freuler did yesterday, I think we've all been crying out for. We want Remo Freuler to be a bit more noticeable and to be a bit more forward thinking, and for Remo to go and do the sort of stuff that he became known for at Atalanta, and which made us sign him. Darren Fletcher was on Garibaldi Red this week, and Fletcher's absolutely spot on. I could listen to the man for hours, right? And he was on about Remo Freuler playing it too safe. And Remo Freuler has kind of been, sideways and backwards far too often. Yesterday, Remo was involved in the goal. And you want Remo further forward. This is a guy that's going to the World Cup with Switzerland, who plays well for Switzerland. I want his Swiss form in a Garibaldi Red. And I thought yesterday was the nearest he's come. He's got a lot of work to do. He's still to win the fans over, I think. But if he plays a little bit more like he did yesterday, I think he'll get there.
Well, I mean, obviously, we've still got half a season to go, and for him to really showcase what he can do. And obviously, he's had a lot of experience before. Can he do it at Forest? I believe he can. And as Mark says here, good evening, Mark. Hope you're doing well.
Great
You've run
point,
over
Mark.
11 kilometres. So, Ellie, let me ask you then, what is the best midfield three that you can make at Forest? I mean, this has got to be the most difficult question, because I think that Lewis O'Brien was a bit hard done by to not get a start, because I know Kouyaté took a knock before the game, and I think playing him was a bit of a risk, and obviously we saw him nearly come off a little bit later on in the game with an injury, but he was okay. If you had to choose tomorrow, let's say you were Steve Cooper, what would be your midfield three that you'd choose, and why? And I know one name that's going to go in, so you can just say the other two if you want.
Yates, Freuler, I would say. He's starting to come into form. And I have to say, Kouyaté has won me over. I didn't think I'd say it so soon, but he has won me over. Because Yates, we've already spoken about, fabulous. Chef's kiss. Freuler, that work rate, as you mentioned, and it was it the game before as well? Someone mentioned he ran 12 kilometres in that game as well. He's working hard. And someone in the comments mentioned, I'm sorry, I can't remember who, Yates plays better with Freuler now that Freuler's on form as well. And at the moment, I think the key thing that we have to focus on, rather than in individual upgrades, which a lot of people seem to be focusing on, is actually relationships between players. That is the key thing that we need to focus on as a club. Because there might be, as we spoke about the back four, technically upgrades on individuals, but they're not really an upgrade, are they, if they haven't got that relationship with the other players around them? And for me, what happened yesterday, it worked. Yates, Kouyaté, Freuler. Kouyaté is a big, scary man. He runs at people. They're all petrified of him, and I love to see that. He has won me over. I did think he was one of our poorest players at the beginning of the season. Won me over entirely. Shout out Kouyaté. Well done. And I don't really think, I feel a bit boring. I'm repeating myself a lot. Something's working. Something's starting to click. We are lacking stability as a club. We have done for a while, managerially, but also we're lacking stability with all these new signings, complete strangers on a pitch, pretty much. When things start to click, keep it there. Don't disrupt it. And it was a bit risky, Kouyaté starting, but then in other ways, it's also not so risky because, there's a big break. But is he playing in the World Cup?
Yeah,
he is.
There's 5 of ours going. So Wayne's going, Brennan's going, Nico's going, Remo's going, and Jacob. Yeah.
And also you got to remember that Kouyaté as well is former Crystal Palace as well. So I'm sure that he wanted to go and play against his former teammates and maybe get a one-up over them. And this is obviously his last chance, I would imagine, to go to the World Cup, unless he tries to until he's 36 or whatever. But we're gonna close the show very soon because we're touching on the halfway region. I was going to just, but Dave, from you, because we're finishing at half past.
She was so brilliant. I want to say my midfield.
We're finishing at 8:30, so I want a straight answer, Dave, and I don't want anything around it. No politicians. Okay. I don't want Matt Hancock and I'm a Celebrity. I want Dave Asprey giving 3 midfielders and nothing else. 3 midfielders.
I'd like to hand Matt's hand. I'd hand his cock to him, to be honest. But let's not go there.
Right.
3
midfielders.
Yeah, my midfield. Ellie's fave, bang in there. Yatesy. I want Oral Mangala in there. He's my other certainty. I think Oral Mangala is our best guy for keeping the ball, and I think we've been bottom of the league because we've been the poorest team at keeping possession. And Oral Mangala, I wished he'd not been sent off against Tottenham. I thought he was excellent against Tottenham, as he'd been excellent against Everton early in the season, where he wrested control of the game away from Oral Mangala. For me, the two certain starters every time are Yatesy and Oral Mangala. I love Oral Mangala. The other two, the other position, I actually think it is. It's a toss-up because I think, if Freuler can play like he did yesterday, rather than the safe performances he put in earlier, then that's great. No, Mark, I've got to go another show, mate, later on. But I tell you what, I really like Lewis O'Brien, because Lewis O'Brien, little fella, gets the ball and his first thought always is, I want to either carry it forward or hit it forward. Lewis O'Brien's first ball against Tottenham Hotspur the other night, against the likes of Betancourt and people like that, whoever was, Tottenham man for man, every man jack of Tottenham's team on paper and on reputation was better than Forest, right? But the first ball Lewis O'Brien played on Wednesday night, he gets the ball and he hits a 40-yard ball up the line for Jesse Lingard to run onto. And it's such a good ball, Jesse doesn't have to change his stride. So my view is that it's like Yates and Mangala, and then either Lewis or Remo. And that depends on which one of them is playing the better at the time. The other two, for me, are certain starters. I'm not decrying Cheku Kouyaté. He's, like Ellie says, he's a big unit, and you wouldn't like to get on the wrong side of him, right? And against Liverpool and against Palace, obviously, he seemed inspired, and he was becoming a little bit the nuisance that Yates is. But I just think we need to keep the football better. And Oral Mangala, to my way of thinking, based on what I've seen, is our best hope of doing that. So Mangala and Yates, and then it depends on the form of O'Brien and Freuler.
Well, that was a short answer from Dave there. So
mate, I was running out of breath. That's what it is.
I was literally thinking, right, I might have to call 999 here and get someone to come and bring this oxygen for him. He'll finish in 2 hours. So that's about the waiting time for Dave. But all I want to say is, if you do want to chuck in a different CDM, J Martin, the Attenborough top CDM, is here ready to play in CDM. I'm not sure about this one, Reese. And I know it's you, Reese, on a fake account. You are not going in right back, my son.
Is he a good player, Reese Chapman?
Reese Chapman, he's an interesting player. He got a goal, but he's I call him String Bean. That's his name, String Bean. He's like, I'm not even going to describe it. Reese knows. But yeah, as I say, the kind of the last moments of the stream. So I'm going to be asking short answers. I'm going to be asking some quick fire questions.
Why is he looking at me when he says that, Ellie?
Ooh, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at. I don't know. I'm looking at. I'm going to. It's Lewis, by the way. Yeah. Oh, wicked. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you this question then. So, and it's not going to be a table prediction, by the way. I'm sick of hearing those, and all the people that were like, "Oh yeah. Oh well, we're going to get 10th or we're going to get 6th." And I remember, oh God, I can't even remember his name. David. Oh God, he came on our stream once, and I don't talk to him anymore. But anyway, it's not David Asprey yet at the moment. but I've just heard that I'm going to be going all the way to Manchester with you, Dave, in the back of the car. So I'm already preparing. Believe me.
Big shout out to Claire.
Yeah, big shout out to Claire, and don't forget, Door still owes you. So don't keep persisting, keep getting Door to keep bringing these match day shirts, and get me a signed Sam Surridge one if you can. But because I had to endure it as well, by the way, so I'd like my piece of compensation. But anyway, I want to ask you, David Paul, that was it. Yeah. Ellie, I want to ask you. So looking at January, first 2 games, and I said I wouldn't do this earlier, Manchester United and Chelsea. How do you see it playing out?
I am quite positive. I don't believe in winnable games, as you say, and we are all humans at the end of the day. They are just players. I think it will be positive at Man United. Whether it's a win or not, I'm not entirely sure, but we certainly won't get shown up. I think our players will show up, and I think I don't want to be too overly confident, but I am. I think there's 4 points in those 2 games when we play well. I think there are. There you go, nice quick answer for you.
Wow, I must admit, I'm speechless to be, and Graham Potter's side haven't been doing too well, and well, Ten Hag's side have been doing all right, to be fair. So I'm a bit more worried about United than I am Chelsea. I think Chelsea, I mean, they might not have Reece James back by then. I think they will have Reece James back by then, but if they don't, it's a big bonus for us. Now, Dave, what do you think about those first 2 games? How are you feeling about that?
I think Manchester United will be too much for us. I think United will beat us at Old Trafford. I don't think we'll be humiliated. I think I think they'll have too much for us. I just think, first game back, there'll be an immense atmosphere there. Although actually, if you've been to Old Trafford, it's quite quiet. But I think lose to United, and I think we'll beat Chelsea at the City Ground, because New Year's Day, our place will be rocking. They are not as good as they've been recently. So lost to United, beat Chelsea, 3 points from the possible 6.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Let's hope that we can do it. And, there's potential that Chelsea might not even get.
Tell you what, though, Ellie's right. At the start of the season, I think the worry for us that we would be shown to be out of our depth and become a bit of a standing joke and a bit humiliated and never mentioned on Match of the Day. I mean, even then, last night we were last on, right? And it's a huge win for us. But I do think since the Leicester game, okay, Arsenal, but they're the league leaders. Don't think we've been as much of a pushover as we were earlier in the season. So Ellie's point about being, at least the first step along the way is respectability and consolidation. And I think we're very slowly getting there. Not there yet, but getting there.
They will come to respect us.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ellie.
The City Ground is becoming a fortress, and I think teams are going to be coming to the stadium thinking, actually, we're not going to walk all over these. We're going to have to play our absolute hearts out.
Home form, kids, is crucial. Kevin Campbell was on a couple of weeks ago, and, Kevin knows more about football than I'll ever know. He's been there. He's done it, at big clubs in pressure situations, right? And he said, for a newly promoted club, and especially one that's not been at this level for a long, long time with a lot of new players, home form is crucial. All 3 of our wins this season, 1-0 at home. And we're going to struggle, I think, to pick up many points on the road. But if our supporters, who were, honestly, they were mesmerizingly brilliant yesterday, all of them, if we can play our part, Forest can have 12 men at every home game. And, yesterday I thought the atmosphere, especially after Wilf missed the penalty, was just brilliant. And if you're wearing a Garibaldi red shirt and you weren't uplifted by that, then you're not human, So I think home form is vital.
Well, we've got to give it our all as fans, as just as much as the players have to give it their all on the pitch. But I just want to say that we're going to conclude the stream at that. And also, the next stream will probably be about around Thursday. We're going to be bringing you some different kinds of content. And I know that me and Ellie, we've also mentioned a few things. So we're going to be making some different content for the channel.
Going to be a double act?
It's good. I think we're going to actually do. We're going to go and hire out. We're going to go and hire out a Power League thing. We're going to have to do some little football challenges there. I'm thinking some subscriber giveaways and all sorts. So we're going to end it at that. But I just want to say as well, I'm at the award ceremony for the FCAs on Wednesday. So again, I just want to thank you all, and also you, Dave and Ellie, for your support with that, because that is on Wednesday night, and I'm really looking forward to it. And the first thing my brother says is, Jamie, do you know Billy Wingrove's going to be there? You've got to get me a signature, Billy Wingrove. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I've always loved the F2 as a kid, but I'm going to try and do it. But I'm really looking forward to it. So as I say, thank you all for your immense support. Whether I win or not on Wednesday night, I'm going to enjoy it out in Manchester with my mum. I'll make sure I spit on the floor at the Etihad as well. That's a family thing. And I'll make sure that I put on my Roy Keane shirt, the Forest one, of course. Yeah, thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure from me, Ellie, and Dave. Have a great evening. Make sure that you tune over to, I think, Door's channel, where Dave will be on at 9. I think I've got that right.
I'm a media slut, honestly. I'm just anybody.
God. Okay, well, this is definitely getting demonetized now. So there goes my anthem. I've got
Sorry,
nothing now.
mate.
I've got nothing now, have I? I've got nothing. So we're going to
I was
be
being honest.
Dave's too honest, isn't he? He's too honest.
I am a little bit too
I'm
candid,
joking.
yeah.
He's brilliant. Well, thank you
Sorry,
all, guys. It's been brilliant to talk Forest with you, and we'll be back very soon. And don't worry, it will be before Christmas, so don't stress. Have a fantastic evening. Take care from me, Ellie and Dave. From me, Ellie and Dave. See you soon. Goodbye.
You Reds.